all-time assist leader in the history of Kansas basketball. 8th all-time in NCAA. First of all, that's crazy. Father, husband, assistant coach of Golden State Warriors, my friend. Welcome to the show, Aaron Miles.
Man, I'm glad to be here. Frederick Alexander Music. What up, fam? You know, I've been wanting to say that, man, for a minute. So,
I mean, we're going to have to get to Miles Mondays eventually. I know you and your story has so much to do with Portland, so I want to take you back there.
You already know, man. I brought my Portland hat. I rock wherever I'm at. Portland's going to be with me, man.
Shout out Portland, man.
Always.
What are some of your fondest memories from growing up in Portland? I'm curious to know.
I love Portland, man. Anybody that know me, you know, they know that I'm always rep Portland. You know, the 503, NEP, you know, Jefferson High School, you know, and I'm always going, you know, that and then University of Kansas, you know what I'm saying? I'm always going to rep, you know. But, man, Portland was great, man. Grew up, man, a beautiful community, close-knit. You know, it's predominantly white, obviously, but, you know, there was a pocket of us blacks that was all in the same location, so everybody knew each other. You know, a lot of families, you know, there. It was very close-knit. You know, I grew up with my mother and father. I'm blessed, you know, I'm blessed to have both of them, you know, married. And in my life, it was five of us. You know, I'm the second to the youngest.
You mentioned your parents, like the parental, you know, influence is always foundational for all of us. Like, where did hoop come in? Like, did it come through moms? Did it come through pops?
My dad used to coach my sister's basketball team, you know, 8th grade basketball team at Tubman, Harriet Tubman. And so I was just a youngin' there. You know, I'm 7 years old or whatever the case. And I'm at all the practices. You know, my dad, you know, getting some of the drills, working and all that. My brother was 4 years older than me, man. We playing on, you know, on the back of the door.
With the socks?
With the socks and the wire hanger stretched out. Mm-hmm. Emulating like I'm, you know, Isaiah Thomas and he's Joe Dumars. Well, he always was Isaiah Thomas and I was Joe Dumars. But, you know, that type of thing, you know, and I just grew to love it, you know, and then we outside, you know, at school, you playing it and you just grew to love it, man. And, you know, that's right, you know, right about the time where the Pistons was doing their thing, the bad boy Pistons. Mm-hmm. You know, my dad is from Detroit. You know,
the
D. So my pop's from Detroit. Mom's from Portland. And so in the finals, it was the Pistons and the Blazers was in one of those finals. And it was like, you know, kind of torn a little bit, but that's where I kind of really started to pay attention a little more. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Man, them Blazers teams was cold.
It was cold. Terry Porter, Drexler, you know what I'm saying?
Duckworth.
Kevin, yep. Jerome Kersey, you know, and Cliff Robinson. I was a Pistons fan because of Pops, and I loved Isaiah Thomas, you know what I'm saying? I love Joe Dumars. I love that tough Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer, the toughness of that squad, man.
Yeah.
And really that's kind of my mindset as a player, coach, you know what I'm saying? I get kind of from.
Give me a little bit about how that started to get woven into your DNA as like you start to hit high school. Like, who were your hoop influences? Like, you hit 9th grade, who you watching?
So it's funny, man. Like, so my favorite players at that age was Isaiah Thomas, Magic Johnson, right? Point guards. Isaiah was smaller. Magic had the yang, yang. You know what I'm saying? He had the dime packages. And for me, you know, you seen a competitiveness with a smile on his face.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And I'm not somebody that go around mean mugging and all that type of stuff, but I'm competitive. You know what I'm saying? It may be a smile or whatever, but don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But that's kind of where I started to love watching those guys and took from. Then I transitioned into middle school years or whatever, man. And I started to Damon Stoudemire from Portland, Oregon, so I love Dame.
Cool.
Terrell Brandon, Portland, Oregon, point guard, and Jason Kidd. You know, to go with Penny Hardaway. So those are the kind of that next wave of guys that I began to watch as a kid, 7, 8, 9 years old. It wasn't the NBA that I was really paying as much attention to. I knew a little bit of those main names or whatever.
Yeah.
But all I wanted to do when I was at that age was play for Jefferson High School, be a Democrat. That's all I wanted to do.
So who were you watching coming up? Jefferson High
So
School.
at when my sister went to high school, I started going to watch the games.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
And the first year, her freshman year, Jeff was like the best team in the state, arguably. And Jeff, just to give some context to it, is the only predominantly black high school in Oregon. Not Portland, in Oregon. Wow. Right? So it's a community. That first year, man, they had, I'm going to them games. They had Tony Hobson Jr., was a point guard, who was out there flashy, throwing dimes and was freshman. And they had Denmark Reed, a dude, shoot the lights out. Man, and so I'm at these games and the gyms is packed and it's cracking and I'm loving it, man. And my sister's senior year, one of my good friends now, Wendell Rayford, was playing for him. Ime Udoka, who's now the head coach for the Boston Celtics, a good friend of mine, was playing for him, and they lost in the state championship.
Oh,
they lost in the state championship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? KZL West, and they had a squad. And I mean, I used to be catching the bus, literally the public bus, public transportation from my elementary school, because it's like, if you don't get to the game, like the rivals like Grant High School or Benson or even Wilson at the time, and it's like, if you don't get to the game early enough, you might not get in. And so the stands is cracking, it's packed, and you got people dancing in the stands, and the band is playing, the cheerleaders is doing their thing, and the atmosphere was amazing. So I've always looked up to that and wanted to be there. My favorite player that I really looked up to, she was cold. Erica Mache. It's a female. She was cold.
Where'd she go to school?
She went to Jeff. She was cold. She ended up going to USC.
There you go. Okay.
She went to the University of Southern California, man. Yeah. And she was special, you know what I'm saying? She was cold. She lefty, smooth, so going to watch my sister play. Erica was on the team, Stephanie Lincoln, and my cousin Tiffany. I got to watch some good basketball, you know what I mean?
Man, sound like so. I mean, that just sounds like D1 talent on the women's side, on the men's side. Like, tell me about your team, because I know there were people that I watched in college. A lot of them came from your high school.
Yeah.
Like, run me through that roster. Like, who did you play with? And
So freshman year, man, my best friend was with me, but Michael Lee's my best friend.
Kansas.
He went to Kansas, but he's been my best friend since middle school, 6th grade, 5th grade, or whatever. And we live a block away from each other. So we went to middle school together, and then we went to high school together. And so going to Jeff, Mike Lee was on the squad with me. A cat by the name of Brandon Brooks was a legend back home, man. He ended up going to USC. Yep, he a legend back home. So we had 6 D1, so us 3.
Jeez.
Antone Jarrell, he went to UTEP out of high school and ended up going, I think he transferred back to Portland State. John Tennant went to like Idaho or Idaho State. And then Brandon Lincoln went to the University of Oregon. Wow. So them was all my brothers, man. And then we had some cats that also, went and played football at, other schools or may not have went D1 but played at college, and so it was fun, man. It was beautiful, that 2000 ride was special. You go back home and talk to anybody from Portland, and they'll always bring up that 2000 state championship team. We went 28-0, and the community was just behind us everywhere we went.
Wow.
Gyms was packed, so that everything that I envisioned playing when I was a kid, going up to in the stands. Now I was a guy that I was once watching. I was that guy, and some kid up there was probably watching me and loving the atmosphere and loving it. So, it was an amazing time, man. And then our coach, Marshall Haskins, was dope, so.
Phenomenal, man. A phenomenal high school career, state champs, 28-0, undefeated. Like, that's hard to do. So, top 2-3 schools, like, what did it end up coming down to you for, like, when you made your decision?
So, it came down between Arizona, UCLA, and Kansas. Ooh. And Oregon was right there. But really, like, one of the things that I always prayed for was that I was like, man, God, Mike Lee's been my best friend. I want to play with him at one of these, high major programs. That was a prayer. I literally was, prayed that. Wow. And, unfortunately, like, Arizona had just picked up my boy Salim Stoudemire, so they didn't have no spot. UCLA had, already had all their spots filled or whatever, so it wasn't none for Mike. Kansas didn't have no spots because they was actually actively recruiting, some other guys or whatever. And then University of Oregon. And so we like, okay, let's look at the University of Oregon. Ernie Kent came and sat down with us, and they had just had Luke Ridnour.
Cold.
Who was cold.
Cold.
He was cold. He was a year older than me. But then Kansas, missed out on a couple of players, that they had. And then it fell kind of to Mike. It's God, bro. It's dope. They were like, hey, Mike, we got a scholarship for you. And so we went on a recruiting trip. Mike actually committed first on our recruiting trip. I took another trip, but I already knew once he committed that I was going to go there, man. Talking to Coach Williams, one thing that he told me was like, I wouldn't be surprised if you started, but I would be surprised if you didn't play. You know what I'm saying? He said, but I'm not going to guarantee you nothing. But it wouldn't surprise me if you start, and but I would be surprised if you didn't play, a significant role with us. And that's all you want.
That's all you want. Yeah.
That's all you want.
It's so rare when you see people that play in high school together play on the next level. And then some of them end up playing on the next level, which is crazy. Like I know Isaiah Thomas and Avery Bradley end up being on the Celtics together, which is like you can't – like what are the odds of two people below 6'3" playing on an NBA team? Like it's crazy.
So did they play high school? They went to high school? I know they from Tacoma together, right?
They from Tacoma. I think they went to – I think they play AAU together.
For sure.
Yeah. And then obviously different colleges, but to play – to play with your boy on the next level must have been crazy. So you get to Kansas.
Yeah, because like I said, we started off with Cisco Kids. That was the name of our program team that we played on. My father started it. His dad, kind of helped bring it up and build it. And we played Cisco Kids from 3rd grade to 8th grade together, then went to high school and played.
Wow.
Yeah, so that bond, man, that's my brother. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I became the head coach of Santa Cruz, first person I called was Mike Lee. You know what I'm saying? So that's that.
Shout out Michael Lee, man. That's fire, dude. So Kansas, I have personally some bad memories because of Kansas basketball. Stanford alum, Kansas alum here. You gave us buckets on a couple of different occasions. So my freshman year NCAA tournament, you remember that game?
Oh yeah. Kurt got Kurt was hurt. Got hurt the year before.
Yeah.
Or not the year before, but the game before, and then we played y'all. Yeah.
That
would have been my sophomore year.
Got you. Yeah, because
my sophomore year.
You guys made Final Four 2 years in a row, I think.
2 years in a row, yeah. My freshman year and then my sophomore year.
I'm just curious culturally, 'cause I went to a predominantly black high school, which it sounded like you did.
Yep.
What was it like culturally dropping you in the middle of nowhere in Kansas?
Yeah. Nah,
what was that like, bro?
I mean, like, you say Portland is the whitest city in America type deal, but for all I knew was black. Elementary school all black, Martin Luther King Elementary School, Harriet Tubman Middle School, Jefferson High School,
right.
Thomas Jefferson at that, but all black. So that's all I really knew, right? And so now to that point, going to a university that's predominantly white, was a culture shock for certain. I was on a basketball team, man, and in Kansas. The Jayhawks, everybody, they love us, man. I was welcomed with open arms, man. It was great.
Did being with that nucleus of the basketball team, did that help? Yeah. It's probably more racial balance there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you think about it, man, sports is something that brings everybody together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, we got all different type of walks of life that come together for a common goal, common love for the game.
Yep.
We was kicking it with everybody. We was rocking together. You know what I'm saying? We go with everybody. I had, so my freshman year, Nick Collison, Drew Gooden, Kurt Heinrich.
Yep.
To go along with the other freshmen that came in with myself was Wayne Simeon and Keith Langford, Michael Lee and Jeff Hawkins. We had a good group. And then we had some seniors, man, that really took us under their wing. My man Lewis Harrison. It was cool.
This is actually, I'm really interested in asking you this because this is recent.
I already know. Yes, pay us, man.
That's what I want to know.
Man.
I want to know if Aaron Miles had a Cash App situation.
Facts, man. I needed that in my life, man.
You know what I mean? Like, how do you think that would have changed your college career?
Well, I think there's pros and cons to it, I guess. You know what I mean? But I'll always say this, and I don't even know all the rules that just came out, but the changes. I don't know all the changes. But when I was playing, I would look up in the stands and see all these Aaron Miles jerseys up in there, 11 Kansas, you know what I mean?
Wow.
It was dope feeling.
Yeah.
But then I come back and I go ask, yo, can I get a couple of those jerseys to send home for my family for Christmas? And I got to pay $50 a jersey.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And so that really bothered me. It's like, how am I paying $50? Y'all making all this money off mine. I seen these up in there. And you going to make me, I'm a college student, pay $50 for my family to have them?
Right.
I mean, obviously, you know, you get your college paid for.
Right.
You know, different things, get an education, you know, different things of that nature. But it's so much money generated, man, out there that you look back and even with that college degree, man, you know, people don't, it ain't guaranteed that a person will get a job after that.
That's
you know
right.
what I'm saying? So to be able to have some cash in the bank, you know, would have been helpful for a lot of us. You know what I mean? Not everybody's going pro. You know, they think everybody's going to go pro, but everybody ain't going to go pro. So for somebody to be able to make a few bucks to kind of set themselves up, you know, post-playing career is beneficial. And I think it's going to be important that, you know, it's taught, you know, financial literacy, especially at an earlier age, like high school or whatever, even younger than that, because you think about it now, people are going to start getting a little bit of money and knowing what to do with it and so forth.
I feel like that needs to be mandatory now for every collegiate athlete.
For sure.
You know, because with direct-to-consumer markets and, you know, someone can Cash App you, Venmo you now for something related to your likeness, you could end up with hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Quickly.
Like, you know, quickly.
Man. And if you ain't, you know, if you don't have that knowledge, you know, that could be gone quickly. Man. You know, you hear many stories about even professional athletes that have lost a lot of money in the past, and I think they've done a great job of implementing programs and things to kind of help guys in that area. You know, but now you got to start a little earlier. Man. You got to start a little earlier. I mean, because there's a lot of things that you just don't know. Yeah. You just don't know. I mean, like, you know, so I think that's going to be key. But I also think it's going to be beneficial for these guys because they are going to start interacting with businesses and different people that now they can force relationships that even if they don't end up playing or whatever, they have relationships that can help them in other areas. So I'm excited for it.
Man, yeah, possibilities are endless. Like people being able to brokerage their own deals, you know.
The on the flip side, I'm gonna say,
okay,
as a coach, and I coached in the college level, I don't know how it's gonna affect because dudes may just be like, "Yo, I'm gonna go play in LA because I got more opportunity to make more money in LA, opposed to going to Kansas or whatever, Duke or whatever, because of those reasons, those different endorsements or whatever that they're able to get."
Wow.
So that's another aspect. And then when it comes, you know, to coaching them guys, some sponsors or whatever endorsements will say like, "Yo, you got to average 20 points. If you average 20 points, you get X amount of dollars. If you average this, you know what I mean?" So now it's a statistical thing to which the players may be like, "Shoot, I got to go get this. I got to go get 20 real quick, man."
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it ain't about winning, which is college supposed to be about winning, you know, at the same time as development. So it creates, it gets a little tricky. It gets a little tricky with that aspect of it, you know, but if they can find a balance and a way to where, you know, we can keep it about the team and all that,
right,
it'd be beautiful. But I don't know. But I definitely think that something, they should be paid something of some sort. I'm not saying that, I don't know what that should be. Yeah. But facts.
Man, yeah, I mean, it's already set up like an infrastructure, like as a profession. So, or at least now with the changes in the rules, now you're giving opportunity for people to really make money professionally because it generates just billions. Like,
it generates a lot. The one thing that I always said that maybe that they could have took some of the money that they were making and every year that a person was there in the school, like put hypothetically, $10,000 in for your freshman year if you say $20,000 sophomore, whatever, and just so when you graduate, here's you know what I'm saying, a good amount that gets you started, that, you know, you ain't stressing about how to pay the rent, because that's another thing that you got to realize. Your dorms and your housing is taken care of when you're in college. As soon as you're gone, you got to learn how to pay your own bills and things. You know what I'm saying? Off top, man, they should stash some money away. So therefore, when you do graduate, you know, you got something to help you kickstart your adult life, so to speak.
Exactly. You come out of college, ton of success, multiple Final Fours, national championship game, and you think about kickstarting your professional career. Like, walk me through that process of preparing for the draft, like, and just the realization of I'm a college star. Now it's this next level.
Yeah. I always say, for me, man, we lost my senior year in the first round of Bucknell. We were a 4 seed and they were a 13 seed, I think. Or was they? Yeah, I think it was like that.
Yeah.
I always fought myself as a leader of the team and, you know, PG, and like, you know, I was supposed to lead us better than that. But having lost that game, I always say, man, in the NCAA tournament is where names are made.
For sure.
You know, draft stops, rise or fall. You know what I mean? And so as somebody who was on the, you know, probably like second round boards at that moment, had I was been able to, you know, get our team to the Elite Eight.
Yep.
You playing on weekend after weekend, and you there, you shining, you know, Final Four. Now it's like, okay, they see the leadership. You know what I mean? Because obviously they see it in my freshman year, sophomore year, whatever, the leadership aspect, but, you know, to take that next jump. And so by losing that, it just put, you know, the next wave of whoever was playing at that moment, now their eyes, the attention is all on them to shine. You know, I signed with an agent or whatever, and I went to work out for 15 different teams. You know, so I had some great workouts, you know, that I was like, yo, I might have an opportunity to be drafted, you know what I mean, at some point, you know, maybe not first round, but at some point, second round, whatever. But so when that draft came, man, I had everybody at the crib, and 60th draft pick was named. It wasn't me, you know. It was disappointing for sure, but I was able to, you know, look at it as you know, it's an opportunity to go make a team, you know, go to summer league with somebody that can use me. Yeah. Somebody that have a roster spot available, you know, because sometimes people don't realize you can get drafted to a team that in the second round, particularly because it's not guaranteed, you can get drafted to a team in which the rosters, there's no roster availability. There's no roster spots. Yep. You know what I'm saying? So now either they stash you away or, you know, whatever. So now this put me in kind of control where I can pick and decide where to go. You know, that's how I looked at it, especially, you know, not being drafted. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I would have loved to have heard my name called.
So it didn't happen, but it still somehow led you to the Bay, right? Still, you end up putting on a Golden State Warrior jersey. Like, what was that process like?
I played summer league with the New York Knicks, and I played summer league with Seattle, the Supersonics.
Wow.
Yep.
Missed that franchise.
Seattle Supersonics. So I did both of those, and I was just, I mean, I didn't play great in my first pro experience. Didn't do anything, you know, that stood out or whatever. I go back home after that, and I continue to work out, you know, and, you know, like I say, you know, I named a couple of those players that I grew up with or whatever. We back in the gym, Mike Lee, Brandon Brooks, Saleem Stoudemire, because he just was recently drafted, you know, Freddie Jones. We all back there working out. Wow. Terrence Green, you know, we had a bunch that was working out with Howard Avery and Aaron Cowens. And so continue to get better. And then, you know, it's free agent workouts started happening, like leading up, maybe about a month leading up to when training camp started. And so I came to the one here in Oakland and was playing pickup with them dudes. It was Jason Richardson was out there and a couple of the younger players. I think D Fish might have been there also. But then like Monte Ellis was just drafted. Ike Diago was drafted. Chris Taft was drafted. These is all the draftees. So they're all out there. We all out there playing with a couple other free agents and stuff. And I played well for those 2 days or whatever the case, man. And
wow.
Yeah. And so I think Jay Rich, you know, might have told, because Chris Mullen and Rod Higgins was the general managers, you know, like, yo, y'all should bring them in to training camp. And so they offered me to come to training camp. New York offered me to come to training camp. Larry Brown was a coach in New York, you know, and there's a Kansas connection with Larry Brown.
That's
and
right.
He was like, yo, hey, you know, he telling me essentially like, Aaron, you know, you should come here and this, that. And at the time, they didn't have no roster spots available. I'm like, Coach, you know, you got 16 on. Allen Houston was like the 16th man on a roster spot. because like he was injured or something and they was trying to buy him out. I can't remember exactly, but I had just played summer league with him, and so he's like, you should come. I'm like, but coach, you know, you don't have no spots. Stephon Marbury might have been there, I think, at the time. So I ended up ultimately deciding to go with Golden State because they had roster availability.
You put on a Warrior jersey.
Amazing feeling, bro. Walk in the locker room, you see that.
Man.
I was number 0 too, you know what I mean? I was 0 with the miles on the back because somebody had 11 already. Just to see that jersey, man, you know, I ain't gonna lie, I got a little emotional when I seen it.
Wow.
You know, you know, but it was dope, man. You know, just to be able to say I accomplished it, right? You know, it was amazing.
So it started in Oakland, continued overseas, and somehow you ended up back in Oakland, but as a coach, like, did you aspire? Like when you were done playing, was it like I'm gonna coach, or like what was that transition like?
Man, I always knew I wanted to coach. You know, never knew what level. Always knew I wanted to coach. Man, you know, Coach Self would always say, man, you know, one day I'm gonna hire you. You know, one day I'm gonna hire you, man. He would tell told my wife, Mick, my parents that it's, you know, same time, like, your son, I'm gonna hire him at some point. You know, and I knew it as a point guard.
Yep.
You know, I'm always out there commanding something, you know what I mean, orchestrating something. So
Coach on the floor,
coach on the floor. And so when I got done playing, actually I got hurt. And I was rehabbing, I had surgery, and I was rehabbing, and Coach Self was like, yo, hey, while you rehabbing, why don't you come on my staff? If you rehab, you get healthy, go back and play, great. You'll get your feet wet, see if you like it. You know, and if not, now you got your foot in the door.
Wow.
So Coach Self, you know, a man of his word, did that for the year, and I never got healthy enough to go back to play. And I just, you know, decided to hang up the shoes, man.
Take me back, though, to your journey of becoming head coach of Santa Cruz. Like, how did you get there?
Man, so along my career, my playing career, I came to training camp with Golden State. So my rookie year I played in Golden State, got cut, went to the G League, played or whatever, D League at the time. Then I played overseas for a couple of years. Yeah. You know, my game matured. I'm like, I'm ready. So I come to Golden State for training camp. This would have been going into Steph's second year, I think, going into Steph's second year. So I'm in training camp with Steph. Monte Ellis is still here. Don Nelson was the coach, but I just stepped down, and Keith Smart was the coach. Yep. So I go to training camp. I was the last cut. You know, that's another story. I was the last cut. And so I go to the G League. You know, I was assigned to go to play in the G League that was affiliated with Golden State at the time, which was in the Reno Bighorns. Yeah. So I go to Reno Bighorns. Play down there, playing well, great. And there's a cat by the name of Ryan Atkinson who was the manager of the team. Like I always say, he was kind of like the lowest man on the totem pole at the time. You know, he was always driving the players around, the opponents, driving them to and from the hotels, doing our laundry, all those type of different things. And so me and him became close, you know, to where, you know, after games, you know, if he's doing the laundry, I might help him, you know what I'm saying? Let's hurry up so we go eat. You know, and then we going to eat, and we just became tight in those couple of months that I was there. And so we stayed in contact throughout the rest of my career when I ended up going back overseas. And then when I was coaching at Florida Gulf Coast, he calls me like, yo, hey, what you think about being a assistant coach in the G League? I was like, assistant in the G League? You know, I never thought about it, but I'm happy where I'm at, but, you know, how much they make, you know, whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. And I was like, man, I can't just uproot my family for that, bro. Appreciate it, though. He's like, well, what you think about the head coach? And I said, my heart started pounding, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I tried to be tough with it, like, for sure. Oh, yeah, definitely, I'll take a look at that one. You know, because he had went from being a manager to now he's the assistant general manager for the Santa Cruz Warriors. So he went from being the lowest man on the totem pole, moved his way on up. So I'm like, shoot, let's, you know. So therefore, he took my name to the general manager, researched me and all that type of stuff. The general manager, who's Kent Lakeup, son of Joe Lakeup, who's the owner of the Warriors. Yeah. It's crazy because a year prior, while I was coaching at Kansas, Golden State was playing OKC in the playoffs. Nick Collison, my old college teammate, played for Oklahoma City.
That's right.
So I go out there, and I'm going out there to go watch the game, and Nick got me some tickets. So I called Ryan. I'm like, yo, because I knew now he's in the organization. I'm like, yo, are you going to be at the game? He's like, nah, but I want you to meet a couple of people. Kent Lakeup was one of them. met Kent, and there was another guy there named Sammy Gelfin, who actually worked with us in Reno also. And like, oh, what's up? So it was love. Who I am aligns with their vision and so forth. Then they fly me out to Vegas to meet with Steve Kerr, and had a great meeting with him. And he said, look, he said, man, I can see you. This is something I can see you being within our organization as a head coach, and eventually possibly being up with with us at Golden State. Wow. And after I did those interviews, man, they ended up hiring me. But I tell that story because to get there, man, it wasn't everybody was like, yo, you played for Roy Williams at Kansas, you played for Bill Self at Kansas. Somebody had to, who did they know? How did they get you on? And I'll be like, man, it wasn't them. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't them. Now Steve may call them and just talk and ask questions, but it wasn't them who put me out there. And I always say, it's like, man, whoever no matter who you meet, no matter what positions people hold, it don't even matter. Just treat people genuine with respect, no matter what.
So you make a historic run. My favorite part of that whole run is I love when you tell the story of Juan Toscano Anderson. Like, take me back to you identifying him as a tryout, right?
Yeah.
For the Santa Cruz Warriors.
Yep.
Eventually becomes a Golden State Warrior. Like,
yeah. No, it's the dopest story, man. And I'm gonna say this. Go back to Ryan. So no. Ryan Atkinson actually discovered Juan Toscano Anderson. Santa Cruz, the first year was some ups and downs, some challenges, and we can go on that. I know you're asking about Juan. So what Juan's story is, we do a local tryout for the G League. Most G League teams do it. Some G League teams will just post it and say, hey, we got a local tryout. Anybody can come or whatever. So you might get a 55-year-old dude that has no chance of playing just out there. But they pay their money. They come hoop.
Oh, you got to pay.
So for some.
Okay.
Some places, some teams that have them pay, $200, what I'm saying, to come try out with with this NBA team franchise, so to speak. Right? But what Ryan did, he went and found 30 guys who were talented, competitive, and he got those guys to come. Him and Ken Lakeup as a general manager. Yeah. And he scouted them, said, nope, this guy for this reason, this why, and brought 30 guys in. So he's at the Oakland practice facility, and Juan was one of them, obviously, one of the 30. And so at that 30, I ran the local tryout with my staff, and I just remember walking past one of the courts, and when you running something, you don't really lock in. You just always kind of moving, making sure it's flowing. Mm-hmm. And so I walked past one of the courts, and I just hear somebody saying, "Hey, stop ball, I'm on your left, help!" And I just turn and look, I'm like, "Oh, okay, number 49, whatever jersey number you had." Mm-hmm. And I'm like, "Okay." And I heard him talking some more. Okay, now continue. And then at the end, we had a staff meeting and like, yo, who y'all like? And they had a bunch of players' name on the draft on the board already. Yep. Probably like 12 or something, 15. And I'm like, man, who's number 49? And he's like, oh yeah, that's Juan Toscano Anderson. His name was already on the board. I'm like, man, I liked him. Man, I'll say I don't know how good he was doing anything else, but man, defensively he was talking. He looked like he had good energy. He looked like he can do something. They're like, nah, he could play. He can play. He's high up on our list. We picked 4 people from that 30 to come to our Santa Cruz Warriors training camp, which is essentially is a tryout. And Juan, because of that, was one of them. We told everybody, we tried to keep it 100 with them, and told them like, yo, this is the situation. We got the rosters filled and so forth, and it's probably be hard for you to make it because we kind of got it, but we want to see what you can do. And Juan's whole thing was like, listen, man, I'm honored to be here. I just want to show that I can actually play at this level. I think I could play in the G League, but so I just want to go out here and compete. And then Kent Lakeup, and it was like, yo, well, make us have to make a decision. And so over the course of the next week or so, he made us have to make a decision. He out there going hard, and so we had to make a decision. And some things happened in which we ended up trading away talented player, in order to that allowed us to keep Juan. So it worked out. So Juan made it. So now he's a piece. He's on the team. He's happy, congratulating him. You know, I think initially we might have told him like, "Yo, we sorry we cut you." Joke with him like, "Yo, sorry, man. You know what I mean? It's you know, you had a good run this week, but we're gonna go in a different direction." He was like, "Nah, just playing, whatever." Wow. Anyways, he makes a team, and over the course of the season, man, his whole thing was just, man, when I'm getting in the game, I'm gonna play hard, I'm gonna compete, and over the course of the season, he grinded and earned everybody's trust, and respect of his teammates. That's the biggest thing that stood out, how much everybody respected him. Everybody respected him because the way he carried himself. You know, he don't go in there think he bigger and better than nobody, but he also ain't about to let nobody think you bigger and better than him.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Yeah. And the way he carried himself, man. He Oakland. You know what I'm saying? And so,
where you from?
You know, and so he had the respect of everybody, and then eventually, man, he played so well that it's like, nah, we got to keep him on the floor.
Wow.
He ended up starting for us, you know what I'm saying, towards the end of the season, you know. So he played Summer League, in which I'm the head coach of the Summer League team, Golden State. He got his opportunity to play and made the most of it.
Wow.
I mean, and when I say make the most of it, it ain't that he scored, because he's not a scorer. He can score, you know, he can score some, you know what I mean? He can, but that's not what he do. He just knows how to impact the game and have a positively. You know, so whether that's defensively, rebounding, talking, passing, he does everything well from that regard. You know, and the one knock was always his shooting. You know what I'm saying? That was something that everybody questioned. But he plays so well. He's diving on the floors. You know, he's energetic. We down, and he's getting us back in with his energy. And right in front of our front office people, and they like, man, I like what this dude is doing. After that, they invited him to training camp with Golden State. They invited him to training camp with Golden State. Once they invited him to training camp, he came in there that first year, was going hard, you know, played well. They liked him, but ended up two-waying another player, and they didn't have no roster spot. So he goes back to the G. You know what I mean? But he was this close to being the two-way. We, you know, that year was 1920. You know, Golden State had some injuries and a lot of things going on, young team. And then we made that trade with D'Angelo Russell and Alex Burke and Glenn Robinson. Once those guys were traded, it opened up roster spots that we had to fill. And, you know, everybody remembered Juan from his training camp, from Summer League, from Santa Cruz, the energy that he provided. He got the call up.
Man.
Up until the COVID hit, the pandemic hit, you know. So a lot of people said that, you know, he wasn't gonna make it or whatever. And so that summer throughout the pandemic, he was in the lab, he was in the gym in the facility every day, with myself or Khalid Robinson. They in the lab, you know, working on shooting, everything. He's just around, and you know, he did the protest. He organized a protest up in Oakland.
Yes.
He's doing a lot in the community. So fast forward, we get to training camp. He's playing well. He stands out a little bit because he does all the little things. You know, he's not a superstar. He ain't Steph, but he understands how to play with those guys, how to get people in better and things to do. And he had an impact on Steve, bro. He had an impact on Steve that Steve loved, in which it was hard for Steve to cut him. And so they ended up signing him to a two-way. Wow. You know, and in the midst of being a two-way player, that man was starting for the Golden State Warriors. So he went from playing in Mexico 1 year, 2 years later, starting for the Golden State Warriors. He started games for the Golden State Warriors.
It's crazy. That don't even sound, it's just crazy. It's so amazing, man. Hard work, talent.
That's it, man. Hard work, talent. You know, it's just hard work and dedication, man. Dedication.
You've won on every level. So tell me about the allure of winning that, you know, an NBA championship, that run, and all those personalities contributing to that run.
First, man, Steve is the best, man. He allowed me to come be a part of the playoff run. You know what I'm saying? He let me, you know, I'm sitting in the coaches' meetings. I'm at all the practices. Obviously, I'm traveling with the team and doing everything with that. We win the championship. I'm in the champagne showers and all that. So it was just dope, man. But man, just to be up there with those guys, the elite, man. Steph Curry, obviously, you know, everybody, you know, talk about him, you know, but to be able to see him up close, man, is dope. It's dope, man. I mean, his work ethic, second to none. You know what I mean? He gets after it. He just was in the gym yesterday, matter of fact, doing conditioning and stuff.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? So his workout ain't on no cool shot. This is what he ain't doing the Olympics this year, so he got about 3 months before the season start back up. He's shooting drills with conditioning in it. You know what I mean? His work ethic is second to none. Clay, same way. You know, and then I seen Kevin Durant up and come on, man. You know, I mean, watching all these dudes really work, and you see why they are great.
Yeah.
You know, you see why they are, because it ain't like going through the motions. It's like, nah, this is my craft. I'm continuing to try to build and grow from it. You know, but then when you talk about the team aspect of it, you got, you know, Andre and Sean, who these vets, man, and they know how to hold people accountable without necessarily yang.
Right.
You know, and Steve do a great job of allowing the guys to be themselves and managing egos. You know, and that's one thing that you watch Steve, it's like he knows how to go and talk to everybody and communicate with them.
Yeah.
Because that's it's a gift. And that's the big part of the NBA in general, because these dudes are so talented. You know, you can tweak certain things and help them in certain areas, but for the most part, man, these dudes know how to go out and hoop. But you got to get them to buy into you and buy into what you believe in your system and see your vision. And Steve do a great job of that along with his staff.
Right.
And, man, it was unbelievable, man. The runs and just some of the behind the scenes stuff was just dope to be a part of.
Man, I mean, just the competitive nature on the court with Draymond, it translates off the court with Dominos. So
yeah.
And I think you mentioned that, you know, E40, like, give me your dopest Domino story.
First of all, man, I mean, it's just, as a growing up in Portland, man, like, you know, we listen to a lot of Bay Area music, and E40 was somebody that before games, I'm rocking, man, you know what I'm saying? Charlie Hustle, you know? And so, met him one time, you know, I introduced myself anyway, you know, at the parade when we won the championship back in, 2018? You know, he was there, and man, I was like, yo, and I'm one of them dudes that I keep it 100 with people. Like, look, man, I've been listening to you. I'm a big fan. You know what I'm saying? I salute you, whatever, man. And so we took a picture, which was dope for me. Fast forward, you know, me and Draymond, you know, we playing them dominoes, and so my family was gone out of town one day. He was like, yo, why don't you come over to the house, man? We can eat, you know what I mean, and we can play some dominoes. And I show up at the crib, man, and E40 is there.
Wow.
E40 and Droopy.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And we sit there and, you know, we eat, we chopping it up, man. And next, you know, we playing dominoes. You know, we drinking some wine and you know, chilling, man. And it was just a dope experience, man, because like I said, like for me, somebody that, you know, musically I've always listened to and just, you know, loved. Even, you know what I mean? I recite all of them. And it was dope because he started playing some of his music while he was there. We started playing something. I'm in there rapping it, man. He just vibing. It was just dope, bro. You know, his song came on there. Oh no, he was talking. And he said, hey man, and the way he raps is how he was talking. Hey man, you know, like, man, these dudes think I'm a square because I wear these glasses, man. Nah, these ain't prescriptions. Ain't no prescriptions up in here. I said, what? Man, I listened. I said, so I wear these glasses so that I can look like a square. So if you ever see me in a fight with a bear, don't help me. Help the bear. I said, that was real. He was like, yeah. So it was dope, man.
Man, it's amazing just how the game just opens up so many opportunities, you know, for you to be able to connect with people that are in hoop, but then are just a fan of hoop. I feel like you are a walking, breathing coach, and having seen you around your boys and the joy that I have, I've seen of partaking in Miles Mondays. Like, I really want to know about what you and Mick intended to do with that and what you want to do going forward. Like, tell me about Miles Mondays, and it's a family affair and like just the whole passion behind it.
When the pandemic first hit, you know, we didn't have nothing to do. Me and my boys would go outside, and, you know, it's hard to coach them, you know, because as a dad, they just tune you out at times. But every now and then they'll let me get them through some drills and stuff. So we was doing some drills one day. I said, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take all the Warriors greats and use something that they did to show it. So now it's not just me showing them drills, but I'm connecting it to the Warriors.
Yes.
So that became a concept of mine. Instantly, like, that night I started thinking about it. I woke up in the morning like, oh, I could do this. I could do that Tim Hardaway. And I said, boys, this is what we're doing. Da-da-da-da. They're going to put this on, you know, social. So they was like, okay, cool. So I filmed it. So I had my wife filming it, and I'm breaking it down, and I'm like, we're doing it Tim Hardaway. So I broke it down and everything like that. And then I had the footage on my camera, and I'm like, okay, let me figure out how to edit this thing. So I'm like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Hey, Squint, look, man, this is what I got going on, man. This is my ideas, this is my thought. I got the footage, And then he was like, man, listen, I got somebody for you. This is my guy. Great dude. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Send this to Crocker.
Shout out Michael Crocker, genius.
Shout out to Mike Croc. I said, this is what my idea was. My idea is this. I sent it to him. I didn't hear from him for a couple of days. And I'm like, man, I can't put the pressure on him, man, like that, because I don't even know him like that.
Right.
You know, and he got other stuff going on. And this is a passion project. This is so nothing happened. And then out of nowhere, he's like, hey, here's a rough draft. Just tell me what you think. We can make some adjustments. This was like days later. I'm like, and I looked at him like, this is exactly what I wanted. He brought the vision with the music to life. He brought it to life. He brought my vision to life, man. And, you know, I'm forever thankful for him, man, and grateful. It was just dope. We posted it. And it was love, man, and it was dope. And so after we did that, we did the next one was Baron Davis. And so we did that one with and Mike, same situation. Wifey filming it. So it was just a mouse crew. We in our yard, just doing it, just filming the Baron Davis stuff, man,
So
with the kids. You know, and I loved it because people was hitting me up because they started having their kids doing some of the drills and things because there was some teaching in there.
Yeah.
It wasn't just the fun, you know, it was actually some teaching components and some learning. They were learning things about the organization. So they learning about former players. So like I said, we did Tim Hardaway, Baron Davis, we did Chris Mullin, we did Nate Thurman, you know, rebounding with Nate Thurman.
Steph.
We did a Steph Curry, which was a dope thing. You know what I'm saying?
Fire.
It was dope the way that came through.
Yeah.
And that just speaks to, you know, Steph being Steph. Sean Livingston.
Yes.
Wilt Chamberlain. For Father's Day, we did one with myself because I played with the Warriors and on passing. And each one of them had different themes, and you know, in terms of what they were about. Like I said, Tim Hardaway's was his move. Baron Davis was a nice little handle also. Chris Mullin was learning how to shoot off the curl screens.
Yep.
Sean Livingston was, you know, off the dribble pull-ups. Steph's was moving without the ball. Nate Thurman was rebounding because he, you know, averaged like 17 rebounds.
Oh yeah.
Wilt Chamberlain was like, you know, it wasn't the just dunks like Wilt, but this is little turnaround shot, post play. Mine was passing. Mother's Day was coming up, and I'm laying in the bed. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna do a Mother's Day special and show and just highlight my wife, highlight Mick. Oh, that's gonna be dope. So that was the idea, and I'm like, okay, well, what music I'm gonna listen to? I was like, yo, he got that song. Fred sent me that song with my name in it. I don't walk a mile with you. So I looked at him like, yo, this might hit. This might hit, man. And I was so geeked about it. Like, this is going to be the best one. And so when we did that one, highlighting my wife, man, and saluting her, you know, because she was behind the scenes. And really, you know, as a basketball coach, basketball player, you know, your wives kind of are the ones that, you know, are behind the scenes that don't always get the credit or get the acknowledgement, man. And my wife's amazing, bro. So for us to be able to salute her on camera, for the world to see, you know what I'm saying, with Frederick Alexander music in the background, you know what I'm saying? It was dope, bro. It was dope. It's my favorite one. You know what I'm saying? It's my favorite one. You know, we had them playing 2-on-2 with the boys, or 3-on-2 with the boys.
She was doing work.
She was doing work and killing. I have people saying like, yo, I didn't know Mick could play. Exactly. I'm like, yeah, she played in high school, fam. She's like, oh, you know, so it was dope, man. And the boys loved it. And obviously, you know, she loved it too, man. And it was a way to just, like I say, again, to salute her, but also to salute other mothers out there that, you know, should be acknowledged.
What do you want to leave your boys? What's most important to leave?
Like my father, man, you know, is the one that I've always admired and looked up to. You know what I'm saying? And even as a kid, when he'd be on my helmet about different things, you know, you don't want to hear it or whatever, but I look back and I appreciated those moments. And what he stood for as a man, right? His story for me is dope also, man, in which, you know, as a father, that's who I've always looked up to and who I always wanted to be. So when I think about things that I'm going to do, I'll be like, dang, what would my dad do in these moments? You know what I'm saying? What would Mark Miles Sr. do? You know what I'm saying? And, you know, obviously my mom, she was nurturing and she was, you know, she was there always to support, you know what I mean? Everything that she just had my back, you know. But as a man, you look up to your father, right? Which I think that's why I think, you know, just fathers in general is so vital to kids, man. You know, he was previously married before my mom. And so with my older brother and my older sister. And then me and my younger brother got the same mom and dad, right? And my parents now, once they got married, they still married together. But my brothers and sister was, you know, raised in our household. So my dad, you know, raised them in our household. So it was just all of us, right? And so he sacrificed a lot. And so then when I was 12 years old, my great-grandfather passed away back home in Detroit.
Yeah.
My dad go back there. And at the funeral, out of nowhere, he meets his son. He meets my oldest brother, Marcus, who was that time was 19 years old. Wow. My dad had no clue, didn't know nothing about him, right? He met him at the funeral. Within a year or so, my dad moved him out to Portland to come live with us. You know what I'm saying? Just to give him a different experience. Wow. You know, within a couple years from that, my brother had already had 2 kids at the time. Those 2 kids was living in Portland with my dad. You know what I'm saying? And so as a man, as a father, that's what it looks like to me. You know what I'm saying? And on top of him coaching my basketball team, baseball team, and being a man of the community, and a father figure to so many people in the community, it's like that's what I aspire to be. Yeah. Right? So that's what I aspire to be. So for me, with my kids, I just pray that when they get to be grown men, that's the type of legacy I want to leave for them. Where they look at me and they looking at the things that I've done as a father, as a man, in the communities, with people in general, relationships, you know, that they look and say, okay, now that's what I want to pass down.
Thank you for listening to the Untold Podcast. Make sure to subscribe and follow us for more.